I was in university because my parents told me that's what I had to do. And I went in major undecided, York University in the Greater Toronto area. Um, Eventually, I declared my major to be history because I always loved history. And now looking back, the hindsight is, the story and then just the connection it has to journalism. At that time, though, I wasn't thinking that way. I just needed to declare a major. So in the second year, I remember my dad having a talk with me saying, well, what are you going to do with this degree? And I really didn't know. I thought about maybe pursuing a career in law. Um, I really didn't know. Um, and then I took a career aptitude test at one of the offices on the campus. And then I took a few more, and they all came back within the arena of journalism, specifically broadcasting. And of course, I thought, well, that would be amazing. And I remembered in high school when I told one of my counselors, well, I'd love to be a journalist. And I was told, well, maybe you should think of something more practical. And then I remembered, as a kid, admiring my dad on that microphone. And I thought this would be really amazing if I could do this. So then I soon found out that I could merge my studies at York University with Seneca College, which was on the campus, and do a broadcasting program while finishing my Bachelor's of Arts. So I thought, okay, that's a good idea, but they only took a few students. I mean, 20, 30 every year. So I went through the process, I applied, I got in. But at the time, I was really just thinking broadcasting, radio, and TV would be a cool job, right? So I start, and I remember the first time I was in studio in school. I was in front of a screen, and we just did something on the camera for the teacher to get a sense of what our natural performance ability was. And it just I fell in love with TV right away. I fell in love with television. So I knew it was television. My love for journalism grew with time. I was thinking initially, maybe I'll go the avenue of entertainment. My dad was like, maybe you should do sports. Female in sports would be a great idea. But I really thought entertainment was probably what I wanted to do. So I started hosting a small lifestyle segment at a small cable station in the Greater Toronto area while still in school. It was a great experience. I did not get paid for this, but I was on camera and on real TV. And I loved it. And then I got some advice from a professor who later became a mentor and a tremendous force, especially in the beginnings of my career. And she was my TV professor, and she told me, look, you got to start a news. You got to get the credibility. You got to cut your teeth. You got to go this way and then do what you want, but you got to start a news. So the long and the short of it is I got my first job, and it was at a station, which is part of the CTV network in Canada. And I had to move about 4 hours from Toronto. I was still in Ontario. I moved north, so it was Northern Ontario. It was an opportunity to work in a newsroom with seasoned journalists and to learn. I was the youngest one there. Most of the new reporters were sent to bureaus, but I was in the main hub, the main station, because it was a short contract to cover a reporter who was off for maternity leave. And it was tough. It was really, really tough. I didn't have experience, and I was in a newsroom with people who had already paid their dues. And I worked long hours, and I put my head down. I remember this moment. It was a pivot. It was an assignment that I was given from my assignment editor. And he said, I want you to go cover this. This woman called the newsroom a few times. Apparently her basement's flooded. Barb Pilon. She was a blonde woman. I'll never forget her. And her basement was flooded. It turned out she had experienced some deaths, including her husband had passed away. Insurance couldn't adequately fix the problem to prevent the water from staying out. And this was a lot of water. And she was, an older woman living in this situation. And I just felt for her as a person. I was in my early 20s. And I just kind of did the interview, the job of what a reporter does. But in that moment, during that interview, there was this moment where I could see that she needed me more than we needed the content for TV. She needed me more than she needed me to cover the story, because Barb Pilon didn't have anybody to listen to her about what a stress this was on her life, that she was living in a home that she had owned for years with with her husband. This was her life accomplishment, this house, and she didn't want to move. And she had this much water in her basement, feet of water. And anyways, the story, some people came forward from the community after it aired. She got her help, and I saw the connection between going there, covering the story, doing the live shot outside of her home, presenting the piece, and then what journalism can do, right? So I saw that journalism can lead to creating change. And I also saw that we have the opportunity to make people who are living their ordinary lives feel like, at least in that moment that you're interviewing them and working on their piece and putting their piece out, that they are extraordinary, that their voice is amplified, that they matter. And that was when I really started to appreciate, respect, and love journalism. And then came the many years of working to perfect the craft. I was always very strong on camera, right? But perfecting the craft, the weaving of the words and the sounds and the pictures, I wouldn't look at, okay, what's the way to do it? I would always look at what's the best way to do it. People I admired in my newsroom, on television. So I was always striving for this bar, not only to report, but to tell memorable stories. Um, and so yeah, so it was definitely a process, and that's why I always say, I fell in love with TV right away, and then journalism, that was over the years. It took some time.